If you're planning to travel to Europe for a Mediterranean cruise or a river cruise this summer, there are some things changing that you're gonna need to know before you go. It's Sunday, February 9th, 2025, and on this week's edition of Sunday Sofa Time, we're talking about the EES, the ETIAS, and another change that's affecting a bunch of Americans right now. Welcome back to the Red Sofa, everybody. How you doing? Have you seen the first few couple of videos from my Colorline fantasy trip? What do you think about that cabin?
Yes, I know. Oh, I know.
I'm Morgan from the very unofficial travel guides. I've been making travel videos now for over 15 years of popular and not so popular tourist destinations to give you a very honest, unofficial look at what it's like to be there. I'm also the author of 2 travel-related books full of stories of things that have really happened to me around the world. Getting Stitches on a Cruise Ship and Places Please. If you like to travel, if you like theater, if you like to read,
and if you like me,
then please check them out. They're available on Amazon now. All right, in the first part of this video, we're going to talk about these 2 new systems coming, the EES and the ETIAS. And these are relevant for anybody around the world traveling to one of the EU countries in 2025. But I'm going to say later in 2025. And yes, there's something about this that's kind of confusing. So up until now, there are many countries that don't need any kind of visa or pre-registration to enter the EU. In case you're not familiar with it, the European Union includes popular countries like Spain, Italy, France, Germany, Switzerland, but not England anymore. And like I said, many countries needed no kind of pre-registration to enter the EU. You just booked a ticket, flew over here. When you went through immigrations and passport control in Amsterdam or Paris or wherever your first airport was, you may have gotten a stamp in your passport. And I know that used to be a thing that people really saw as a collection to get as many stamps in your passport as possible. You should see my first passport. I'm gonna go try to find it. Hold on. Okay, I couldn't find my very first passport. I'm sure that I still have it. I just don't know where it is right now. This is an older passport of mine. And yeah, look at all these stamps. Anyways, that's kind of going away now. The EES stands for Entry-Exit System. And from what I understand or how I interpret it, this is the first step of replacing these stamps in the passport. So for the EES, which apparently is now in effect on the European Union website for these topics, it just says it's due to start in 2025, but okay, it is 2025, so has it started? Have any of you flown into the European Union in the last month and a half and have experienced this? So it says here, the Entry-Exit System, EES, is an automated IT system for registering non-EU nationals traveling for a short stay each time they cross the external borders of any of the following European countries using the system. This means that starting now or sometime in 2025, when you enter the European Union, they are going to record and store all the data listed in your passport, like your name, your birthday, when it expires, things like that, the date and place of each time you enter and exit the European Union, your biometric data, which is like, you know, a special picture of your face and your fingerprints, and whether or not you were allowed to enter the European Union. This is mandatory, so if you refuse to have your picture taken or your fingerprints taken, you will not be allowed to enter wherever you're going. These records will then be stored for 3 years, and from what I've been reading, it seems like there's also going to be an online tool that you can access then as a traveler to see all this information that's been stored, and also it'll give you a list then, sort of like a diary of your travels into and out of the European Union. And I think that's kind of cool that something like that will exist online. Of course, it's not going to replace the sort of nostalgic black and white feeling of this. So for the EES, you don't have to do anything new. It's just something new that's going to happen when you get to the airport in the European Union. However, the ETIAS, or should we just call it the Etias, this is something new that you will have to do. So let's break it down. It says here right on the page of the European Union, the rules of travel to most European countries have changed. Starting 6 months after EES, Some 1.4 billion people from over 60 visa-exempt countries are required to have a travel authorization to enter 30 European countries for a short stay. So previously, if you were coming from someplace like North America, USA, Canada, you did not have to apply or pay for any kind of visa or something similar to that before you traveled to Europe, for example, for your European river cruise or your Mediterranean cruise. Sometime soon, you will have to do that, and if you don't do it in advance, you're probably not going to get into the EU. This is a form that you'll be able to fill out online or in an app. It's for short-term stays as like holiday or vacation, so you'll be allowed to stay up to 90 days within a 180-day period. And once you've been approved for an Etias, it is valid for 3 years, and it must be valid for the entire dates of your journey. And check this out, there's some interesting questions that you're gonna have to answer on this application. Some of them are obvious, so they want your name and your address and your birthday. They also want to know your nationality, your email address, and your phone number, but they also want to know your parents' names. Okay. You will also have to provide information about your highest level of education and your current occupation, details about where you intend to travel on this visit and where you're going to stay, as well as if you've had any criminal convictions in the past or if you've ever been denied entry into one of these countries. Now, for people coming from North America into Europe, this might seem like a big change, but for people coming from Europe into USA, this has been the way it's been done for quite a while. So this isn't like something that's brand new in the world. It's just brand new for the European Union or people from certain countries traveling into the European Union. And to keep it as confusing and mysterious as possible, it also says here on the website, Etias is currently not in operation and no applications are collected at this point. It's due to start 6 months after EES. And when does EES start?
Well, we don't know that either, do we?
So how are you supposed to find out? The answer to that question is, I don't know. I'm assuming it will be updated on the European Union website when it goes into effect. And if you've booked through a travel agency, or if you haven't booked your flight yet, or even if you have booked your flight yet, I would hope that the travel agency and the airlines will send out information informing all travelers, hey, this is starting now and you need to apply if you want to be granted entry into the European Union. Oh, and by the way, it's going to cost you some money. Application fee is going to be €7, at least that's the fee that's posted now. But here's something interesting about the application fee. If you're under 18 or over 70, you don't have to pay the fee. And it also says here that family members of EU citizens or non-EU nationals, and I think that I count as a non-EU national, who have the right to move freely throughout the European Union also don't have to pay. Oh, but I don't have kids. I think it means like if I had kids. I don't have kids. So yeah, that's the EES and the Etias, and I just wanted to give you all a heads up. This is coming. Keep your eyes open if you have European travel coming up this year or any of the future years. Okay, something else has changed, and this is going to affect just Americans and not all Americans, but a large group of Americans, and I'm gonna need to preface this with a little bit of a disclaimer in advance. Like I always say, I travel to popular and not so popular tourist destinations to give you an unofficial look at what it's like to be there. The subjects that we're talking about today aren't typical for this channel. Usually, I try to just be entertaining and enlightening and show you where I've been, what I'm doing, or where I'm going and what I'm doing. And by the way, Patreons and channel members, check your accounts because I have some travel plans coming up that I wanted to let you know about first. Anyways, what I'm saying is this is not usually the place where we talk about any sort of like deep, important, or political issues. So the next thing I want to tell you about is something that has to do with political decisions, but first of all, I'm going to try to just tell you the facts, and after that, if you're interested in my opinion about it, then I'll let you know that too. And as I said the last time, I just happened to mention something that could have been construed as a political opinion. Don't worry, this is still the very unofficial travel guides. Just every once in a while, something like this comes up and I want to talk about it. 99.8% of the very unofficial travel guides is not this stuff, so don't worry about it. Here we go. If you're an American and you are applying for a new passport or getting your passport renewed, up until I guess yesterday or the day before yesterday, up until very recently, if you were born as a man but living your life as a woman, or born as a woman but living your life as a man, you were able to apply for and receive a passport listing you as a woman if you live your life as a woman, or a man if you live your life as a man, or you could just choose gender X. This has now changed. That means even if you have lived your life as a woman for many, many years, your new passport will list you as a man. And I feel like this could lead to a lot of complications, not only for Americans living outside of the country that maybe need a new passport, that are going to receive then a passport listing them with their birth, gender. I may be using some wrong terms here. That's why I call this the very unofficial travel guides. Sometimes we get the facts wrong here. Maybe the more complicated question is, what if you are a trans American living outside of the United States right now and you still have a passport with your gender listed as X, or your gender listed as your transgender, and you now are flying back to the United States? What's happening there? Are those people not going to be allowed entry into the USA? I honestly don't know, and I think it's a question that needs to be answered. Also, what's going to happen for transgender Americans who have travel planned for outside of the country, maybe even for work, if they show up at the airport in the foreign country looking like their beautiful woman selves or looking like their beautiful manly selves, but then their passport says male? Not only is that going to be uncomfortable for everyone involved, but I feel like that's just so much more complicated than leaving it the way it was. Oops. I guess I did kind of put my opinion in here already. I was going to try not to do that. And if you are a trans American, I'm sure that you know this already and you didn't need to hear it from me first, but there may be other people out there who are interested in this issue or just didn't know about it. And because it has a lot to do with traveling, I just decided it's something I wanted to share with you too. And now I do want to say a couple more words about it. And if you're not interested in that, then of course it's time to move on to another video. Okay, so of course, as somebody from the queer community, I don't think that this is really a good idea. I think this kind of sucks. It feels like taking something away from people, and I guess historically, political groups who've started taking away from people, they don't usually turn out to be like the good guys. And I think there are a lot of things that the current administration should be focused on, and I just don't understand why this is like one of the first things that was put into effect. Like, why that? I just don't get non-trans people's preoccupation with this issue. And it feels like a big step backwards to me. I'm probably gonna end up cutting all this out of the video, but if I don't, thank you for listening to it up until this point. And if you wanna share your thoughts on it and can do that in a constructive and polite and well-educated way without using the term woke, what is woke? Please do that in the comments below. And if you can't do it that way, then just don't bother. We made it through that. I hope you're still here, and I hope you had a great Sunday or whatever day of the week it was that you choose to watch this and spend the time on the red sofa with me. I'm Morgan from the very unofficial travel guides. Bye-bye.